For the most realistic steering system available on the market, look no further than Sim Steering from Leo Bodnar. Designed and hand-built at the home of British Motorsport's Silverstone circuit, it's extensively used by professional driver training centres and race teams including Formula 1 since 2010. The high precision and completely linear response coupled with high strength provides the ultimate in realistic steering force feedback. Visit simsteering.com. And good evening, welcome to Apex Racing TV's broadcast of the Skip Barber 2K Cup. This is week 9 from Circuit of the Americas, and the guys are 5 minutes into their qualifying session. All have their 3 laps to do as normal. My name's Lee Thompson, and as normal I'm joined by Alex Simpson and Double GT on the cameras and commentary. Good evening, Alex.
Yeah, hi Lee, good to be back for this one. Circuit of the Americas, not the first time we've been here with this series, is it? I think, didn't we visit this in one of the warm-up races? So if that's anything to go by, I think we're going to be in for a thrilling race. I remember a lot of overtakes going on down that back straight into that sort of a tricky hairpin corner. So very wide track actually, and I expect we'll see a whole host more overtakes here today. Not that the series is shy of overtakes, because it's been very exciting so far.
Yeah, and they're not shy of close finishes either, are they? So last week, we may remember for viewers who were with us that Sebastian Job, by the narrowest of margins, pit finishes Rocher at Brands Hatch Circuit for 4 thousandths of a second between first and second. So anything close to that last lap sort of battle will be very happy.
Yeah, crazy close last week. Roger very unlucky not to get it there. I think he played a very patient game, hoping that he could do it on the last lap. You know, he came in, we spoke to him at the end, and he said, you know, Sebastian's so difficult to overtake, but he still nearly got the job done. Had that start-finish line been extra 50 metres down the road, I think he'd have had the win. So, as it is, that second place keeps him second in the championship, 236 points behind Sebastian with the 258. Labour there in third place, 202. He's had a tough couple of weeks, hasn't he? So hopefully he can bounce back strongly this week. And Ferreira closed right in on him as well, 201. So Graham Carroll rounds out your top 5, 189 points, with Brancini 184 in 6th place, Bart Delat 182. He'll be looking for a good strong result and see if he can jump himself up there. Marco Derricks, great result from him last week as well. In 8th place, 134 points. Matt Defoe, Clive Armstrong. Didn't really see those guys last week, from I remember correctly. 128, 122 points. Rounds out your top 10.
And I think we're missing a couple of people from that top 10 standings here this week as well. So I believe we are missing Matteo Brancini and Bart Delat is currently 6th and 7th in the championship, as we said. They're going to be taken this week as a dropped round. So we are expecting one more flying lap from most of the drivers. Currently Sebastian Job is just over 0.2 of a second up on Vinicius Rocher, 1st and 2nd, with then actually quite a big gap at the minute, over just coming up to half a second and back to 3rd place Ricardo Ferreira. So it's a long lap here, 2 minute 30 laps that they're doing, and it looks like they're just getting a little bit strung out on those actual times as a result.
Yeah, I wonder actually if any of the drivers have left it a little late and are not quite going to get the time in. How long did they get? 10 minutes is it for qualifying, Lee?
Do you know what? It's normally 10 minutes, but actually this particularly long lap explains why I'm seeing 15 minutes in my my top corner. So yeah, they have got an extra 5 minutes for qualifying.
Yeah, it would make some sense. Just give the guys, we've seen a couple caught out this year, or this season already. So yeah, makes sense. So just looking at provisional standings, yeah, Sebastian up top, Roger in 2nd, so those two continue in their close fight. Half a second between, no, there's not half a second, what am I talking about? There's less than 1/10 of a second, and Ferreira is there as well, but he's about half a second behind, so could be a bit of a split this week.
Yeah, it really does look like the top 2 at the minute have the pace, but we've seen Philip Labour, and particularly of those drivers in there, could be the one that we would think to be able to get into in and amongst those guys. But looking back at the practice session before, maybe not. Yeah, maybe it is going to be Sebastian Vinicius just on a slightly different level here this week. But we've still got a lap or two from the guys to find out. One more lap, I would think.
Just looking at Graham Catterall, I'm guessing he's not qualifying this week. Doesn't seem to have set any laps.
Sorry to interrupt, Alex. Vinicius Rocha's time is just updated 0.006 of a second slower than Sebastian Job. Such what would we just say, 2-minute 30 lap, and they're separated by 0.006 of a second. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys are so closely matched anyway, so I'm not surprised to see him doing it in qualifying. So I dare say they'll be drafting away from the pack today.
Yeah, and it looks like the laps are done certainly for all the big hitters. We've got a couple of cars still heading around. So we've got Paul Clapp, who is towards the beginning of the lap going through the fast S's. We've got Kevin Weirman, we've got Paul Grillo, and Walter Clatter is just coming over the line as well. Marco Derrick's having just completed his lap. He's currently in 9th position. So yeah, we'll just wait for these last couple of cars to finish up their lap, and it looks like they will have time to finish up. And in fact, Duncan Coppage is just coming out the pit lane now to do an outlap before his lap. I think is he going to struggle for time? I don't think he's going to be able to complete his flying lap after his outlap, but we shall wait and see.
Fortunately, we had some slight graphical issues before loading into the session, so apologies for doing all this on screen during the broadcast. Yeah, we're not quite showing as many cars as we should, so yeah, not really sure what happened there as we loaded in. Just a few glitches, so yeah, apologies for this one. We'll do our best, but I think it's only going to show 20 cars on track at one time when we hit the race, so been a while actually, Lee. We usually have teething problems at Apex Racing TV week on week out, but so far the Skippy series has been quite smooth, so yeah, first bump in the road.
Yeah, it's been smooth sailing for the broadcast normally, and generally pretty smooth sailing for the race as well. I think we've had one pretty instant filled race back at Okayama a few weeks ago, but otherwise the rest of the series has been lots of clean but hard, fair racing with little errors here and there. Of course, you're always going to get it when these guys are running so close, but yeah, pretty action packed the whole way through. I'm just watching Paul Grillo abort his flying lap as he goes into the pit lane. He's not going to be able to improve from his 13th position on the grid. That leaves Duncan Coppage. Kevin Weirman is just coming over the line now. He was in 16th and looks like he's going to stay in 16th. He didn't improve any further. And it is just Duncan Coppage who's on the lap. Don't think he's on his fast lap yet, so I don't think he's going to get time to complete it, but we'll wait and see. We've got 16 laps around this track here at Circuit of the Americas, and saying being such a long lap, big opportunities for drafting on those long straights, especially that massive back straight that we've got here at COTA that just goes on and on forever. The guys, remember, are fuel limited, so they're all enforced to make a mandatory pit stop, and we're expecting people in from sort of lap 9, 10 onwards really. That would be the sort of times that we would be expecting them. So Duncan Coppage, yeah, we're just waiting for him to complete his lap as he outbrakes himself at turn 1 to make a good start to that. So I think that's safe to say then that's the qualifying done. So we'll start going through the grid and wait for everyone to be gridding up in a moment. So getting that pole position then, as we said, was Sebastian Job, so congratulations to him, yet another pole position, so 2 minutes 28.748. As I said a moment ago, just 0.006 of a second behind then is Vinicius Rocha, which is made all the more impressive considering then at third place Ricardo Ferreira is 0.7 of a second further back. So that's a huge gap for what we've been seeing here in this series for the rest of the rounds. Returning Stein Shortburst then is in 4th, just a 10.5 further back, with Philip Labour down in 5th. Yeah, he'll be looking to maybe to get that final podium spot. We certainly know he's got the pace to. For him, Antoine Nedez then will be very happy, I'm sure, with the 6th place. Walter Calato, I think that's a new name for us in the series, in 7th. Tom Ward then in 8th, with Marco Derricks in 9th. We've got Paul Clapp in 10th, and Clive Armstrong in 11th. Chris McGowan in 12th, Paul F. Grillo in 13th, Kartik Pai in 14th, Duncan Coppage, who we were just watching a moment ago, in 15th, with Kevin Weirman then in 16th, Dan Nygaard in 17th, Bill Lawrence 18th, Frank Castillo 19th, Ricardo Bispo in 20th, Edward Cavalier in 21st, Rob Adams in 22nd, and we may or may not see Graham Carroll line up for the grid since he did not put in a qualifying lap.
Yeah, unusual for Carroll to not put in a time. I don't know of any penalties, was there? Let me just briefly check my notes. No, nothing showing, so... Yeah, strange one for Carroll. He's in the session. You thought he would, if he'd qualify. He's in a relatively strong position in this championship. Just give a quick shout out before the lights go green. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Twitter, Facebook, and hit that subscribe button on YouTube.
So we're waiting now just for these last couple of cars to line up on the grid. I'm seeing Sebastian Job's going to have the inside line for what is this very open approach, but quite a tricky entry into turn 1 as they head up the hill here. As normal, we're not expecting much of a change of position off the line because they all just dump a clutch, and these low-powered cars grip pretty well. But we'll see how they go into turn 1. Revs are building, waiting for those lights to go green for Circuit of the Americas week 9, and they're off. Sebastian Job gets a good start. Vinicius Rocha slots in behind. They're all just lining up one by one as we had expected. Sebastian Job stays a little bit central to try and cover that position. Ricardo Ferreira looks to go up the inside of Vinicius Rocha. Big wide line from Vinicius gives him loads of space. Should get the drive out of the corner, but he runs wide. So Vinicius Rocha is going to struggle now under pressure from Ricardo Ferreira. But Ferreira's one that is under a little bit of pressure then behind from Stein Shorthurst. But they all hold on to their positions for now. So Job, then Rocha, then Ferreira, then Shorthurst, then Labert, then Antoinette, then Ward, then Kalata, then Derricks.
Rocha big time out of shape through the S's there, and losing quite a bit of time on Job already. So this is Sebastian's opportunity really early to try and break the draft. Needs to nail these next few corners. We know how important the draft is, especially around this circuit.
Yeah, and here they go. One more corner now until they get out onto this main straight. Sebastian, unless he gets a much better corner, isn't going to have quite broken a draft on this lap, but he's making a good effort of it. I see for Hamilton in the background go diving up the inside of, in fact it was Tom Ward I think, diving on the inside of his teammate for Hamilton, and I think they end up as they were still. A little bit of snaking down the straight trying to break the draft from the leaders.
Yeah, just as they go over the crest, everything looks all above board. No instance that I've seen, no one's fallen out. Graham Carroll didn't take to the start with 3 wide going into the hairpin. I expected we'll see quite a bit of that today. We certainly did in the previous round here.
Yeah, and so for him, Antoinette has had a good first 3/4 of a lap. He's made that position on Philip Labert, and Labert needs to get on with it if he wants to stay with that lead group. Otherwise, he's going to get bottled up into the mid pack a little bit more. The top 4 are just starting to break away now with a slight train led by Antoinette.
Yeah, interesting how the little packs have already formed. You'd have thought these guys would have just kept on, but that little bit of squabble in there has broken them apart. Labert be a bit disappointed to be in this second group. He needed to really keep on the tails of the guys ahead if he got any chance of getting back to the lead in this championship.
And so Vinicius Rocha has made the most of that draft. He's closed back into Sebastian Job as they complete the first lap. I see Fahim Antoinette having to defend hard from Philip Labert as they head up the hill towards turn 1. So Philip Labert's trying to go around the outside. Maybe he'll take a bit of a cut back and cut back to the inside again, but nothing doing. Oh, gets very, very close to the gearbox of Antoinette there, but nothing doing. They will stay in line for now.
Yeah, great battle, and actually you can see that Philippe really wants to get his way past, but he's got to watch out. He's got Tom Ward behind him, and he's looking pretty racy as well.
And Vinicius Rocha really is on a mission to close that gap straight back up. I've seen him sliding through those S's again like he did on the first lap. And these four leaders, just breaking into two little groups now as well, as we've seen that maybe Ferreira and Sothurst from qualifying won't quite have the ultimate pace. The main fun at the minute is really for this fifth position between Antoine Adair's, Laibert, Ward, Carlata, Derricks and Clive Armstrong and Paul Clapp, in fact.
Yeah,
so
Laibert to the inside this time. Not quite going to get the run off the corner he wants, and actually Ward's getting a run down the outside. He's just tucked into the slipstream of Antoine Adair ahead of him as well, so I have to think he's going to have the high ground here and actually moves over to cover Philippe off. He doesn't know which way to go. He's in the middle. They're three wide.
Who's going to be the bravest on the brakes, and Philippe Leibert's got the high ground on that inside line. Looks like Antoine Adair has lost two positions there, maybe now a third as they all squeeze through as well. Tom Ward looking to get Philippe Leibert as well, so he's made up two positions. Antoine Adair has lost two, and Antoine Adair's side by side now with Carlata, and just about rubbing tyres, I think, but they get away with it, and Antoine Adair holds on for now. So great job by Ward there, and Philippe Leibert thought he'd made that position, but he's still got a car in front of him.
And ever more the gap in front of him builds, 3.7 seconds. The front four have pulled away now, so race is not going to plan for Leibert here. And actually Kevin Weirman and Chris McGowan as well, Paul Grillo, they've actually dropped back from this second pack another sort of 3 seconds. So I'm not sure what must have happened, but something must have gone on the previous lap for such a big gap to have built up.
And Marco Derricks, Alex, has spun on the exit of the final corner. He's lost good half dozen, maybe more positions now. He's going to be relegated quite a way back down towards the 20th position now, I think he's in. So I think that was just a little bit of a concertina effect that started between Philippe Leibert and Fahim Antoine Adair, and they maybe just had a little bit of a ripple effect then further back, because Carlata is trying to go around the outside of Philippe Leibert into the first of the S's, but not surprisingly he ends up not quite being able to hold that line and has to slot it back in behind Leibert again. And in fact that means that I've missed that Antoine Adair has got back past Leibert again, so we've got Tom Ward, then Antoine Adair, then Leibert, and then Carlata.
Yeah, I just saw a little replay of Marco just spinning there as well, so yeah, I'll be a bit frustrated with that. Looks like perhaps he went in a little bit hot, felt like he was going to run into the back, braked a little bit hard, and around she came. So just looking at Pi here as well, he's definitely got some damage on his rear wing, and looks as if it was causing him some problems in the higher speed section. So yeah, perhaps looks a bit nervous on entry as well as he checks up there, and everybody seems to sort of, like you say, concertina together, and I heard some collision as well.
And I'm seeing Antoine Adair and Tom Ward side by side as they get to the end of this back straight. Looks like Antoine Adair has got that. Philippe Leibert looks to take advantage as well and slot them in, up the inside at the last moment. Leibert and Ward side by side now as they come into the next tight right-hander. Ward has got that inside line, so he's held on for now. Not really going to be an opportunity, I don't think, for Leibert to cut back, but he certainly tries. Ward now is going to have the inside for the next couple of corners, so he should have this covered off still, and Leibert runs wide. In fact, now Carlata, great little move there from Carlata, saw that develop, great little opportunist move, and Carlata now up into 7th, and Leibert has been relegated all the way back to this second group now.
Unfortunately, just missed that off camera, focusing in on Ward there, and yeah, Carlata just zipped in there, just didn't quite see it on the camera angle. So let's just see if I can get that back on replay and just take a quick look at that again. I was just about to say the nature of the track actually around this sort of last section is you can get alongside, but then you lose the high ground. Yeah, great move, just seeing it here. He catches the apex perfectly as well. Just Leibert, attention focused firmly ahead of him, wasn't watching what he was doing there, and yeah, picks up a place. Great driving.
And whilst we were looking at the replay there, they've swapped back positions again, so Leibert managed to go up the inside of Carlata into turn 1. It's a pretty clean move. Carlata gave him plenty of space, and Leibert's now is trying to chase back after Ward and Antoine Adair. So back up front, we really have got these two little groups now. So we've got Sebastian Job still with Vinicius Rocha well and truly in his wheel tracks. Vinicius staying just a couple of tenths behind the whole time. Even closer though between Ricardo Ferreira and Stein Shorthurst. So Shorthurst looks to be...
Ferreira, big time out of shape, and actually he's going to survive. But Stein straight into the barrier. That's his race done.
That's very, very unlucky for Shorthurst. It looked like he got a great run coming off the last corner and was working his way up alongside a little bit, and there's a little crest there, and yeah, it's easy just to catch that inside curb is what I'm guessing happened for Ferreira, and spin up the rears. There we go. Meanwhile, onto the back straight, I'm watching this train of cars now between 5th position, what is now going to be 4th position in fact, all the way back then to what, 8th. So we've got Ward and Antoinette side by side. Ward's got the inside line. Antoinette didn't really worry about defending at all. Waiting for them all to get a bit closer so I can see who's got that position on the depth perception. Labour looks to go up the inside of Antoinette at the same time as well. Not quite going to happen. So Ward, then Antoinette, then Labour, and then Kalata again. They're 3 wide. Alex as they head into the next corner, and Antoinette. Oh, big contact between the back of Antoinette and the front of Labour. Antoinette looked to consider going up the side of Ward, had to bail out of it, and it was tough for Labour to react. So we'll keep an eye on those two, see if they got damage. If Labour's got damage again, he's just that bad luck continues.
Yeah, great driving from these 4 guys here. It looks like who's that joining them for a little bit of fun? That is Clive Armstrong, I believe.
Yeah, Armstrong and Paul Clapp as well, both joining that group now as the squabbling ahead slows them all back down a little bit. Still then a good 3 seconds back to the next pack, with Paul Grillo leading, Chris McGowan, sorry, leading that from Paul Grillo. But yeah, I think this second group, so from 4th position back, is looking pretty tasty.
Yeah, Chris just doesn't seem to have the raw speed, and looks like the guys are starting to decide to get this move done as we're looking at Grillo on the inside, going into turn 1 this time.
And at the same time, just a bit further up ahead, Antoinette tried to do exactly the same. He went up the inside of Tom Ward. There's such a wide entry on purpose designed there to try and encourage people to dive up the inside, and Antoinette did that, got right up alongside, thought he was going to hold it. I'm watching Tom Ward get very, very out of shape through the S's as well, but just about hang on to it. He's a little bit out of position now. But anyway, they were side by side, but point being Ward held on, and Antoinette is still tucked in behind.
Yeah, front 2 still nip and tuck, nothing between those guys. They're just driving away from Ferrer now, who's in no man's land. He's got 8 seconds gap to Tom Ward behind him, and 3 seconds ahead of these guys. So unless anything goes drastic for Ferrer, he sort of ought to settle in these next 11 laps and just try and hold on to this 3rd place. I think the only chance he's really got is if Rocha really starts to fight hard with Sebastian.
Philip Labert's the man looking to make a move this time as they head down this back straight as normal, so Antoinette has to defend hard. Philip Labert is going to try and go around the outside, but actually they've both got a lot of momentum on Ward as well. Ward on the end has to defend as well. Labert going to try and go around the outside of Antoinette, but Antoinette breaks late and deep and hard, and there's a little bit of contact maybe between the two of them, just about got away with it I think. And Antoinette, no, I thought Labert was going to go up the inside there.
He does have a look.
I thought
Armstrong has to sort of get out of it a little bit, and that's allowed Carter there to get alongside. But again, as we saw earlier on, just you're not on the high ground when you're on the outside round there.
Yeah, almost from my camera angle, almost looked a bit like Labert was a bit in two minds as to whether to go for it or not, and ended up perhaps just confusing each other a little bit. I'm now showing a little bit of rear wing damage for Philip Labert, so we'll see if his pace holds up.
Yeah, it did look like Armstrong got very, very close to him, so you're right there. I think I'm seeing the same sort of damage as well. So let's see. We know these skippies don't necessarily out of shape there on the exit, the final turn for Kalata. That leaves Clapp to get the run on him, and he's already passed way before turn 1. Yeah, let's just keep an eye on Philippe, see what he's like through the S's, because he's going to get loose with that rear wing damage. This is where it's going to happen.
Ooh, right on
big
cue.
time.
Oh.
Yeah, big time.
So yeah, you can see that developing early on. He started having a little bit of a slide, caught it well, and then just as soon as he was out of position, he had nowhere to go but that horrible pyramid curves that they place on the inside of those S's, and he'll have done well not to get any more damage from that, because it really did take off. Didn't actually lose any position so far, but yeah, it's dropped him a little bit further back from those cars in front. Clive Armstrong behind them, Paul Clapp, and then Kalata. So actually, Armstrong and Clapp have done well moving up. They've both made that position on Kalata in the last lap or so.
Yeah, and all the while that these guys are being held up as well is allowing this other pack to come back at them as well. So that's now led by Paul Grillo as well. So you have to think, if they continue to battle and Labour holds them up a bit, they're going to join this this little train of cars as well.
Yeah, and they're all battling away again into this hard braking into the left-hander at the end of lap. Armstrong looks to go around the outside there of Labour. He's going to have the inside line now for the next corner. They're almost 3 wide again, and Armstrong, good bit of drive in there from Armstrong, lined him up nicely, and Philip Labour relegated down another spot, so that's going to be 7th position now.
When are we expecting pit stop window to open, Lee? Because I think it might be prudent for Labour to get in, get that car repaired if he can make it to the end.
Yeah, I think from this lap, I believe, end of this lap, I think perhaps it's the first lap that he should be able to pit and make it. So we're expecting people in maybe from now on to lap 10.
Bastian just setting the fastest lap of the race, just popped up on screen while we continue to watch this little battle form. They're now 2.6 seconds away from Ward and Fahim here as well, so definitely being held, we're definitely held up by Philippe that lap. So if he didn't come in, he chose to stay out. Maybe he doesn't know that he's got that rear damage. I'm sure he'll know when he goes through the S's again now.
Yeah, or maybe it is a lap early still for that opportunity for the pit stop. He's the one that crunches all the numbers for the league information, so it'll be interesting to see when he does come in. I'm sure it'll be his first opportunity, as you say, just behind Labour. I'm showing Paul Clapp with rear wing damage as well as they head through these S's. Looks like Labour just about manages to hold it together now after that excursion previous lap, still tucked in behind Clive Armstrong.
Oh, Clapp very sideways. I thought for a minute he was going to be gone there, but collects it up well. Oh no, this time he's around. Yeah, that rear wing damage just put pay to that as the rest of the pack just comes streaming past him. There's nothing he can do. He backs it up. Never good when you need to use the reverse gear.
Yeah, that's almost the same spot that we saw a few laps earlier. Ricardo Ferreira getting caught out and spinning up the rears as well. So it's a tricky little section. It looks like they come over Chris, especially with that rear wing damage. So back at the front, Sebastian Jobs still having his shadow following him round of Vinicius Rocha, still just at 10th and a half, 2 tenths back or so. These guys are running pretty much now at their qualifying pace. If they run these laps in qualifying, they still would have had P1 and P2 on the grid. So that's it's pretty crazy stuff. 28.8s that they're doing. Ricardo Ferreira then still, he's hanging around there. Ricardo Ferreira actually is in a pretty good position for if Sebastian Job and Rocha start going at it towards the end of the race. He could be there to pick up the scraps. He's only running a couple of tenths slower a lap, and we've got a little bit of action then between Ward and Antoinette. Actually, I just missed what actually happened for Ward, but I think he must have got out of shape coming through turn 15, I think it must have been, and Antoinette now is up into 4th. Tom Ward relegated into 5th. Then we've got Clive Armstrong in 6th, breaking away just slightly from Labour in 7th, with Walter Kalata all over the back of him in 8th. Labour struggling through the apex of the corner. Kalata's got him and Labour makes his pit stop. So this looks like the first lap when cars can be pitting. I see a couple come in, Chris McGowan being another one.
Yeah, it looks like Labour wanted to get in there. He had to give up a little bit of time to get around, as Kalata was a little bit out of shape on the inside of him there. So, but gets himself in. Paul Grillo still closing in on that little pack ahead of him as well, down to 3 seconds. So now that he's managed to, not sure who is behind now actually. I want to say it was Chris McGowan, wasn't it? He was following Chris, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, now that he cleared Chris, he was able to pull away. So yeah, whether or not he's going to catch up to the rest of these guys, I'm not sure, but I'm sure he's going to give it a go.
And recovering Marco Derricks from his spin earlier on in the final corner is coming through the field pretty nicely. So he is made his way up. Well, so we're at 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. So that's going to be 10th position that he's in now, with a couple of pit stops that have been made. And he's been closely followed by Kevin Weirman, who is going to be in 11th once the positions update. So yeah, Marco Derricks running good pace. It's been, unfortunately, had that little spin at the beginning there. I think he could have been right up with Ward and Antoinette is still hunting for a very small sniff of a podium spot, maybe.
Yeah, Kevin looks content at the moment just to stay behind Marco and just follow him, work with him, see if that they can close the pack up to Duncan Coppage just up the road. Actually, everybody's starting to spread out a little bit. The front two still separated by 0.3 of a second, but the rest of the groupings now really spreading out. Ward's now 1.5, 1.6 seconds behind as well, and then Armstrong, Kalata, all separated up quite evenly at the moment. Hopefully the pit stops will bring them back together.
And Marco Derricks, Alex, gets out of shape as a head through turn 13, 14. So Kevin Weirman got the opportunity to have a little bit of sniff into him in turn 13, but nothing doing that time by. So I think Derricks just outbraked himself a little bit, had a bit of a four-wheel drift going into the corner, and lost a lot of momentum.
Yeah, about halfway
leaders
through.
are in, Alex. Leaders are in. So Job and Rocha and Ferreira all make a pit stop. Looks like then further back, Tom Ward also comes in, but Anton Adez continues on. So Anton Adez is going to take over the lead of the race for now. Yeah, it's pretty half and half split a minute as to who's coming and who's not. Kalata continues on, Grillo continues on, Coppage continues on, Derricks is in the pits, and yeah, we've got a good mix of cars pitting this lap. But Vinicius Rocha, Alex, jumps Sebastian Job. I was busy watching who else are coming into the pit lane. Vinicius Rocha, great pit stop. I hope he hasn't underfueled. Vinicius Rocha exits just a couple of tenths ahead of Sebastian Job. This could spice things up nicely.
Yeah, I don't think this is by any means over and done with. We've seen the overtaking that can be done on this circuit. I think this first stint was just all about Rocha just saving fuel, not having as much to put in, and getting that jump, which we can clearly see that he's done now. So I think he was perhaps hoping to get a nice big gap and get maybe 2 seconds ahead, but it's not happened. Looks like he might be struggling a little bit out there. Cold tyres drifting it around the S's at the minute.
Yeah, it can feel a little bit strange for the first lap after being sat behind someone's gearbox for the whole section, first half of the race, to then suddenly have that clear track and have to find your own braking markers and make those sort of not having that reference in front of you the whole time. So we'll see what now Sebastian chooses to do. Is he going to take a page from Vinicius Rocha's book and now sit here for the next sort of few laps, or is he going to look to push on straight away? He may have a good run in the draft if he chooses to.
Yeah, well, we've seen him at Silverstone just sit there and be patient and then wait until the absolute last lap. Let's have a look, he's got the chance. He lifts out. He's going to play that waiting game again, I feel.
Yeah, it seems pretty sensible maybe for now. Yeah, see how things develop, see how everyone's pace looks, and make the most of it then when it really counts, rather than press too early and just have Rocha then having the opportunity to capitalise when it comes to those last laps. So we're just waiting to see how all the rest of the pit stops are going to pan out now, as we've got quite a mix of cars in different positions. I'm seeing Duncan Coppage, whose position was in 9th before he pitted, about to get lapped even by the leaders. So I think Coppage and Grillo must have had problems on their laps, in fact, because Grillo's pitting now, sorry, and Coppage pitting now. Okay, so sorry, yeah, so they hadn't made their pit stops yet. I was all confused. So that looks like every other car in then. So I'm seeing Anton Adair's, Armstrong, yeah, Grillo into the pits. So Rocha and Job now are going to head over the start-finish line to take over the lead again. Sebastian practically pushing Rocha along as they head down the front straight up into this uphill braking into turn 1. Oh, Sebastian gets so close to the back of him. You wanna, yeah, we want to be in his wheel tracks, but maybe you want just a little bit of breathing space, just take the edge off slightly. Right, so Ricardo Ferreira continues past in third. Looks like Antoine Nadez is gonna come out into that fourth position. He's gonna be a couple of seconds ahead of Ward, so he's I think not really gained, not really lost from the pit stops. Next up then is Philip Labert. See, he has gained a little bit as he slides into turn one. Very close now between Grillo and Carlata, so Carlata might get the drive out the corner, but he's going to have the outside line now for the next corner, turn two, and yeah, Grillo is able to hold on for now, so that's worked out pretty well for Grillo. He's made up a spot or two. Clive Armstrong looks like he's maybe lost the most amount of time of those lead cars, with Duncan Coppeds then just behind, and then we've got a nice little battle developing between Derricks and McGowan. So it looks like we're going to have a nice couple of battles during this race, Alex, but we've not really got any big groups that have instantly formed from those pit stops.
No, I was just about to say, actually, it seems like Derrick's lost a place to Weirman on the pit stops as well. So, oh, and he's out of shape again. That's Chris McGowan, sorry. Yeah, just about kept that together. That was like one of those slow motion spins that you just dread. You know it's going, you're fighting like mad to save it, and usually they just carry on going. But yeah, he got his head around that one and recovered it. Could have been quite disastrous for him there.
And Grillo is under pressure from Carlata as they head down into turn 12. Carlata's got the inside. I think he's going to have this corner made as long as he hits his brake marker. Grillo decides to take a very wide entry, maybe try and cut back on the exit, but nothing doing. He's a good couple of car lengths back, so Carlata up a position now, and that's going to bring poor Grillo back a spot. Just behind them, Armstrong and Coppedge aren't too far behind, so if they can not score between the two of them, they may have an opportunity just to move forward a little bit. I see Marco Derricks in the background running very wide through turn 13 and under pressure again from Kevin Weirman now, so again I think Derricks and Weirman is going to be a good little battle to keep watching.
Yeah, I think the pressure getting to Marco a little bit there, so perhaps a little bit high off of his podium finish. Was it podium finish or top 5 finish? I can't remember now. Top 5, wasn't it, at Brands?
Yeah, Marco Derricks finished 4th last week.
So yeah, wants to have more of the same, I'm sure, but yeah, pressure perhaps getting a little bit to him there, running in a little bit deep. So
Tom Ward has had a good outlap after his pit stop, so he's right on the gearbox now of Antoine Nadez after it looking like he had lost a couple of seconds before the pit stops and not really gaining in them. So Antoine Nadez is under lots of pressure now as they head towards this back straight with that prime overtaking opportunity.
Yeah, was that Ward just catching the yellow curb in there? I heard some sort of large bash. That's the only way to describe it. Yeah,
when I've been in this section of the circuit, I've heard a few of them, and I've never been able to quite find where that's come from. So you're right, perhaps it's just as they're impacting that curb, or there's a slight audio bug in that section of the circuit. As I watched Paul Grillo backing the car well and truly through the first sector of the circuit, through turns 8 and 9, and now heading through turn 10. He looks very controlled and managed, but definitely not travelling all four wheels pointing in the same direction.
Tom Ward and Antoine Nadez there having another little battle into that tight left-hander. Now I'm sure we're going to have an even better one going down this back straight.
Oh, almost touching wheels.
Yeah, Ward's trying to push him into the middle of the circuit so he can run around the outside, but in the end drifts off wide anyway, and Raheem takes that sort of middle line. Oh, chops his nose off there though, just Ward gets the move done, however.
And Antoine Nadez can cut back a little bit here, but he's going to be for the outside end of the next corner, so I think Ward should have this covered now as they go through this double apex left-hander. And indeed, good attempt from Antoine Nadez trying to cut back and get up alongside, but it was always tough. And with that last sequence just flowing around to the left, Paul F. Grillo is closing pretty quickly on these two ahead. He is running a pretty similar pace, I think, but we could see this become a three-car group pretty soon as the leaders enter lap 12. Sebastian Jobs still right in behind that gearbox of Vinicius Rocha pushing him along almost again down the front straight. Ricardo Ferreira is only now just entering turn 1. There's almost a front straight then between Ricardo Ferreira and then Tom Ward, Antoine Dedez and Grillo in that next little pack, 4th, 5th and 6th.
Yeah, it's actually Labour in 6th.
Oh, sorry, Labour.
Sorry, Lee, yeah, he's slowly closing in while these guys are battling, so pressure that rear wing. Feels a bit more confident. He needs for his championship actually to get up to these guys and get by. 4th place wouldn't be too bad for him today, but 6th perhaps not as good. It's running out of rounds for him to be able to close back in on the front 2.
Yeah, he's not quite been able to score the points in the last sort of 3 or 4 rounds in particular. He had a good strong start to his championship campaign, but yeah, it's maybe just fading out a little bit now. He's going to be struggling to hang on to those lead cars, but certainly, as we've seen for most of the season, Rocha and Job are really looking like they're on a class of their own. As I see, Tom Ward looks to go up the inside now of Fahim Antondes before they even get to the back straight, so he brakes late and deep, isn't going to get such a good exit, and is going to be under lots of pressure now down into this prime overtaking spot at turn 12. He already defends by the time they only just get onto the front straight. With his 2 squabbling, Leibert's just going to continue to catch quicker and quicker. So last time by, Ward was a good. Leibert was a good few tenths quicker.
I think they're just enjoying and having a bit of fun out there, to be honest. They know Leibert's coming, and if they just settled down, they could have probably held that gap. But no, they're having too much fun, swapping and changing positions. Philippe now well in sight. I think down the main straight, he should draft back up to them. Oh, Ward! I thought he'd overcooked it a little bit there. Manages to save that. Too wide through the fast right-hander here. Ballsy to try and make that move round there. I thought for a minute Fahim was going to hold it. Couldn't quite do it.
And scanning back through the rest of the field there's really only one other potential battle to keep an eye on, which is Weirman. Actually, they're side by side now, so Chris McGowan and Kevin Weirman coming through the last sector of a lap. But every other car on the circuit are pretty much on their own, with this pack of 3 between Ward, Antondes and Leibert, and of course the 2 leaders nose to tail. Everyone else is just running one by one. So Antondes looking to go up the outside now of Tom Ward as they head into turn 1. He's going to have to try and cut back on the apex if he can, but he doesn't quite manage to hit that apex, so doesn't get the opportunity. He runs very wide out into the AstroTurf, and Leibert well and truly now is with him. This is definitely a 3 car group. Leibert can make up 2 positions perhaps as he heads down the back straight.
Yeah, 4 laps to go. You have to think these guys are going to need to sort of maybe think strategically. They're chopping and changing places every lap, so keep car position where you want it for that last lap shootout, I think. I'm sure that last lap is well and truly on the mind of Rocha at the moment, sat at the front, Job behind him, lifting down the straights, keeping himself within range. It's all going to come down to that last lap between those 2.
And so now we're seeing this little grouping of 5th, 6th and 7th position. 4th, 5th and 6th heading down this back straight. So again, Ward defends, Antondes looking to go around the outside. Leibert getting a good run on the both of them, but maybe not quite going to be enough for this lap. Ward sticks to the inside. Antondes cuts back to the outside line over the exit curb, or the entry curb rather, and Ward turns in and all ended up fizzling out just slightly. Ward, then Antondes and Leibert still. Oh, here comes Leibert having a bit of a sniff up the inside of Antondes. Different apex speeds between the 3 of them through the double right-hander there, but none of them got tangled up, fortunately.
Yeah, he got a good drive out of the corner there. I thought for a minute he was going to have a little look up the inside. We've seen a few of them take that line. You can sort of hold it tight through there. So, but yeah, actually, and in the end, perhaps cost him a little bit of time. Just having a look further back, there seems to be another little battle forming. We've got Clapp and Pye, Weirman are all involved in that, so it's a 3-car battle now. We were looking at an actually no, sorry, yeah, just a 3-car. Sorry, I thought it was another but it must be a back marker or something.
And so the leaders now are on to lap 14, just a couple of laps remaining of this what's pretty much going to be a 45-minute race. Vinicius Roger's still leading. They're still running at qualifying pace basically, so 1 minute 28.891 last time by for Vinicius, and that that would have got him his second position that he did manage on the grid. Sebastian Job getting very close to the back of him again as normal as they head through turn 11. Ricardo Ferreira still having a very lonely race like he's had from most of it since he had that little spin up of the rear and collected Shorthurst earlier in the race, so he's still in that third position. And now we're seeing Ward, Anton Adair and Labour 4th, 5th and 6th again. They're looking quite a bit closer for the three of them as they head on to the back straight this time, so we may see a little bit more action at turn 12. Oof, Anton Adair has a big sideways moment getting on the power on the AstroTurf, and we're all hugging that inside line now, trying to sit in each other's slipstream. Here comes Labour as well. Anton Adair goes onto the red painted surface off the edge of the track, and they're 3 wide.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on this. He definitely wide that inside line this time. Is it done? All of them braking as late as possible.
Very well judged by everyone, so it looked like everyone hit their braking marker pretty much perfectly, all hit the apex, so Anton Adair has moved up a spot for now, Ward then Labour, but it was almost beautifully synchronised as they turned into the corner.
Yeah, great driving from all three. It's not easy to do. It's very wide down there, but it's easy to lose track of where everybody is, and Tom, especially in the middle, had to get that absolutely spot on perfect so that he didn't catch any of the other 2 guys.
Marco Derricks has just moved up into 9th position, so nice little move on Clive Armstrong. I think that was going to be at turn 12 as well. All looked pretty controlled from the 2 of them.
Leaders across the start finish line again, just 2 laps to go now. Sebastian probably a little bit further away than he has been for a little while, but it's still only 0.4 of a second, so well within drafting range. Roger's got anything left in the tank, now's the time to really start pushing. I have to say, if he could probably get his lead out to 0.7 seconds by the end of this lap, then he's got half a chance of being able to hold on to this victory, but it's going to be a very tall order. We've seen how much draft they've got. Sebastian's right there. Let's just jump on board actually with Seb at the minute, see again if he lifts this time down the back straight. Doesn't get a very good exit there actually, but we'll just start to see this slipstream pick up, and actually Sebastian moves out of the draft just a little bit as well, so I'm sure he's not trying to keep his engine cool, but guess he doesn't want to run into the back of him.
Alright, so we've got Ward diving up the inside of Anton Adair before we even get onto the back straight this time. Turn 11 is going to get quite a poor exit, and I think Labour is going to be the winner this time. He got the most optimal line going through that corner, and we should see him making full use of that slipstream as they're almost 3 wide already, just halfway down the straight. Now they are 3 wide. Still a good 100 metres at least until they get to the braking marker. Oh, Anton Adair and Ward almost touched. Anton Adair just drifts across the track slightly. Labour's got the outside line. Are they going to be able to judge their braking well again? Ward taking that inside position, hits his brake marker. Anton Adair turns over that inside curb a little bit harder than he probably had planned, but all nice and clean from the 3 of them. No change of position or a little bit of a concertina again into turn 13. I thought they were going to get a bit of damage then between Ward and Anton Adair, but it looked like they hopefully got away with it.
Yeah, good driving from all 3 again. Labour still not able to get past, unfortunately. He's in the worst position, I guess, to get the run done. He's going to have to do them both all at one go, and I think he's going to have to be quite forceful with that inside line. Sebastian, fastest lap of the race. Time to perhaps focus our attention on this lead battle.
Yeah, final lap now as they exit turn 1. Sebastian surely is just going to sit here, following as he closely can through this fast, sweeping first sector, and all eyes are going to be on the run down to turn 12.
Yeah, it's got to be that long straight. I think we've seen earlier on he caught nearly 0.3 of a second there, so needs to time it right. He'd be able to carry the momentum to get his car more than in front on that corner.
It looked like Vinicius had a little bit of a tough time through the last section of those sweeping corners, so he didn't manage to build any kind of gap at all. Sebastian was able to quite comfortably sit right in the position that he wanted to be. And here we go now, so into turn 11, both hit the apex cleanly, get as good an exit as you can. Slightly different lines from the two of them. Vinicius tracks out just a little bit earlier and Sebastian cuts back. Sebastian isn't massively close, Alex, but you've been watching him closely. He's going to get this draft still, and he's making up that distance.
Yeah, this is where it all is, this last bite. They're fighting, we can just see over the crest there, camera switches angles. Sebastian's going to have to go around the outside. Not going to be easy, we've seen guys defend this, so Rocher's on the high ground, brakes late.
Oh, Vinicius.
Too late. Oh. And actually that might cost him second place altogether. Here comes Ferreira, Roger still turning round, but I think he's got it back going in time.
And we'll just switch our attentions now back to, in fact, there's been contact between, Leibert's got through cleanly, there's been contact between Ward and Antoinades. They're both going very, very slowly. I think that must have been in turn 11. We'll try and get a replay at some point. Ward is crabbing badly, Antoinades is extremely slow. Possibly out of fuel, Antoinades, it sounds like. So they're going to be dropping down the standings.
Yeah, just having a very quick look at it. I'm sure Sebastian's going to be coming across the line any moment now. Let's just see what happened. And actually, it's all gone on way before this. Leibert's already passed, so I think we'll just jump back to.
And perfect timing. Yeah, Sebastian Job comes out the final corner, sweeps from one side of the track to the other in delight and relief. Maybe that last lap move just about worked out for him. So congratulations to Sebastian. Race win after pole position. Roger did get that second place then with Ferreira just a couple of seconds back in third. We're expecting then the next car to be Philip Leiber, who started the lap in 6th and is now going to finish, it seems, in 4th position. So Tom Ward, despite the car crabbing massively, still has done a great job to stay ahead of the couple of cars behind. So Tom Ward has salvaged that well and truly, finishing in 5th. Paul Grillo then crosses over the line in 6th with Duncan Coppedge in 7th. Marco Derricks in 8th. Clive Armstrong is going to be in 9th. Chris McGowan is going to be in 10th. And we've got Weirman and Clapp side by side through the final corner. Clapp might be able to get the exit out the corner, but the finish line is very, very early, unfortunately for him. So, yeah, Chris McGowan then in 10th. Weirman in 11th. Paul Clapp in 12th. Bill Lawrence in 13th. Dan Nygaard in 14th, Frank Castillo is going to be in 15th, Kartik Kai is out of fuel and cruising, he's going to just about lose that 16th position, indeed he does, so that's Edward Cavalier in 16th, Kartik Pai might just get to that line in 17th, I think he's just going to get there.
It's going to be close!
Oh, just about, yeah. Barely. That's going to put then Ricardo Bispo in 18th. Rob Adams then is a fair chunk further back. He's still got a few corners to go, so let's assume he'll make it into 19th. Walter Colata, he must have had instant somewhere as well. He was much further up the field, so he's going to be in 20th. And that looks like the last runner, 20th position. Looks like Antoinades didn't even make the line. I think he maybe ran out of fuel, perhaps.
Yeah, sat out there just losing places at the moment, so not sure what's gone in, but yeah, good race from the front two. I think Roger knew that he had to go in deep into that corner. He had to defend all he's worth. I think you overdid it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, he did have to defend hard, but Sebastian had made a little bit of a hash of spending all of that second half of the race lining him up. And he just wasn't close enough coming out the final corner onto that back straight, and he made life much harder than he could have done earlier on in the race with the positions he had been in. So he was only just barely alongside really as they entered the braking zone, and so yeah, it was unfortunate there for Roger. But I think if he'd have just hit his marks in a fairly normal way, for want of a better phrasing, then I think he would have had that one corner covered anyway. Who knows what Sebastian would have done cutting back, but Sebastian, I think a bit lucky on that last lap. Not as lined up as it might have ended up being.
So we might have Philippe just join us for a quick interview. Let's drag him up.
So good evening, Philippe. Looked like a pretty eventful race for you again, as they've tended to be this season. But you did well to make up those couple of positions just at the end there. And a fourth position, I think, was maybe just slightly unexpected from the first half of the race.
Yeah, at least I kept it on track this time. That's a change. It was very eventful because at the start I had Fahim behind me, I think, and I know he's very aggressive, so I was reluctant to fight him. I tried to outrun him, but didn't work. So we lost a lot of time, and I was just waiting for the pit stops to come because I was losing like 2 seconds a lap in that fight. So luckily I had a good pit stop, and it was after that it didn't change much because Tom and Fahim were fighting, and I was just watching them. I was waiting for something to happen. I knew it was going to end bad, and so it did. So that was kind of lucky for me, but unlucky for Tom and Fahim, of course.
We didn't quite see on camera what happened between Fahim and Ward at the end there. Would you be able to just talk us through?
Well, I don't quite remember because they were both on the left side on the main straight, and they were like inches apart. So I took the outside line, so I couldn't see what was happening. And all of a sudden, Fahim was backwards, and Tom had some damage at his rear. So I could pass both of them, but I didn't see what happened.
Well, that fourth position would have been a decent haul of points for your championship prospects, but the three cars in front of you, all of those championship contenders as well, Sebastian Job and Vintage Rocher in particular, just seem to be on another level from everyone else this week. Through the season running with these guys each week, Philippe, have you been able to identify maybe what the difference is in pace between those two cars in particular and maybe the rest of the field? Like where are they gaining that time perhaps?
Well, this track, it's not good for me. I lose 1 second a lap. I don't know where Seb and Vinny get that. I don't know. So fourth was about the best I could hope for this week. Other than that, Seb is on another planet, so I have no chance of challenging him. I'm usually just as quick as Ricardo and almost as quick as Vinny, so it's going to be close at the end for the top 3 positions in the championship.
So next week, Philippe, we are going to be running at Sonoma or Summit Point Raceway. A bit more of a flowing circuit, a lot narrower. None of this constant tarmac runoff everywhere. Feels like a circuit that's going to be good fun, and a skippy that's going to suit the cars well.
Yeah, it's a very fun track too, and it's pretty short. It's narrow. I like it a lot, and I think I'm pretty competitive there. So I'm hoping for at least a top 3 or top 2 position next week.
Cool. Well, we look forward to seeing an epic battle then between potentially yourself, Sebastian, Vinicius, and Ricardo. So that'll be good to look forward to. So commiserations and congratulations on getting that 4th position this week, Philippe, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, and see you next week.
Right, so that looks like that's going to be us wrapping up our broadcast for this week. We're waiting all race long, Alex, to see the fireworks go off between Vinicius and Sebastian, and it was a little bit flat by the event.
Yeah, I think both of them had a very similar mindset in the end, that they were just going to sit there, be patient, make sure that they, as a duo, drove away from the pack, so that when they do start to fight, that they weren't going to have a surprise attack from Ricardo. we saw Roger there jump ahead with the pit stop, so he's timed that absolutely perfectly. And yes, Seb just played the same game. You know, he just sat there all patient and waited, and saved a bit of fuel. And you know, I think he knew there was no point in going at it until the last lap. And yeah, a bit unfortunate. I think that there was a little bit of spin there from Roger. I'd love to have seen those guys side by side through the whole last sector of the racetrack there, because I do feel they would have done that as well, trying to fight for the victory here today. But yeah, that little mistake just handed the win and the championship points on the platter for Seb.
And as you said, that's important championship points. Again, that's really going to continue to secure his position at the top. He already had a little bit of a buffer that he was building, and he's gained those few points again to his closest competitor. Right, well, I'm already looking forward to Summit Point next week. As I say, it feels like it's going to be a good track to be watching these guys at, with a pretty long main front straight, so a decent opportunity for a bit of drafting in these cars that hopefully keeps these packs together.
Yeah, I think you're right, Summit Point. I mean, most drivers will know that back from the rookie days. Very good fun in the Mazdas. So I dare say the lines will probably translate quite well as well. So I think most people quite enjoy that circuit. It was definitely nice when they introduced that into that series, from just doing the rotation of Lime Rock Park and Okayama Short. So yeah, I think there'll be quite a few guys up to speed at that circuit, and like you said, it puts itself into a good place for racing as well. That back straight, yes, we can get some good overtake moves going down there, but I think draft perhaps not having such a huge effect through the infield section, as it's quite twisty and quite tight and quite narrow through there. So I dare say we might see a few guys just try and break away in those early laps as well. So could be some good pack racing but in little individual chunks, I think.
Right, so we look forward to seeing how that develops in next week. That's our broadcast here done for the Skip Barber 2K Cup. Thank you for listening to myself, Lee Thompson, and Alex Simpson here, and we look forward to seeing how they get on next week at Summit Points. Thank you.